two fruits, both alike in dignity, ready to be eaten. Cheers.
Great. No.
So, hello. I want you to meet my dear friend, Kat. I still know your last name.
Fanning.
Banning.
Yes.
Like Dakota?
Yes. We're definitely not related, but.
Oh. Well, tell people you are.
Yeah. No, it's a running joke in our family. She's my cousin. We probably came from the same family in Ireland, but.
I love that.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. So, Kat plays a very crucial role in the show of Romeo and Juliet in the role of dresser.
Yeah.
So, what is a dresser?
Basically, I dress the actors for the show. We also prep the costumes, steam them, repair them, wash them. Thank you, half hour.
Thank you.
Oh, half hour. I also forgot to say my intro.
Oh.
Hi. What a wacky morning. Hi, welcome to 30 to Places, which is a show where I talk to you 30 minutes to places.
Great.
They just call it half hour, which made me realize I didn't say the intro.
Got it.
But we're back. Anyway, so you prep the costumes. How early do you arrive here?
Usually because it's a student mat, we're here 2 hours before, but usually we get here 2.5 hours before the show. And that is folding laundry, that was from the previous show, making sure we check everything in. We have check-in sheets, check everything in, make sure that we have all the pieces, because sometimes things go missing or we have a repair and then things happen. We check things in, steam, press, do any repairs or like laundry, cleaning things before the show happens. And then we do our presets. So, yeah.
And I'm afraid to ask this next question. When do you leave?
Usually about an hour after the show ends. So
Romeo and Juliet is a 3 hour and 50-minute show. So that means this lady is here.
it's a
5 hours.
It's a
7
7-hour call. Yeah, it's a 7-hour call, which is
Bananas.
I think the longest call of any APT show that I've done. It's a long.
That is a long one.
Yeah. The check looks nice, though. I mean,
The
I
check
get,
looks nice,
get
that's
paid by
right.
the hour. So.
Amazing. But also, one thing that I really appreciate about Kat and this role of a dresser is that it allows us to let go and focus on the show and not worry about
Definitely.
costumes. Like, if anything happens, I know I could just wait out until I get off stage and talk.
Yeah.
Here at APT, we perform outside. So there's a lot of things that happen with outdoor theater. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is a heat plan and a cold plan. Do you mind, explaining what a heat plan and a cold plan is?
Yeah, so heat plan is basically, hopefully beforehand, the designer gives us some sort of an idea of, they don't have to wear these things, like your doublet, or for the ladies, tights instead. They can wear a bare leg or socks, because those can be really warm. When we did Liar, the ladies wore corsets, and for the heat plan we're not wearing corsets because those can be too hot. And then cold plan is adding extra layers as we can. Though I feel like the cold plan here has been
Never used.
Has been used more in recent years than in the past. But I also feel like this is only my second season, so I could totally be talking out of my ass.
I think we call it talking from our experience.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, this person gives me ice packs.
Ice, yeah.
So many ice packs because it's so hot outside that literally it's an ice pack.
Yeah. And you go through them really fast. I mean, not an insult or anything,
it's
but
hot.
definitely.
And I'm moving a lot, I think.
Yeah.
My words are not just coming out of my mouth, but my whole body.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
yeah. And you're on stage the whole time, and you don't get a lot of chance to like just stop and take a break. So when you're like backstage, it's just like as fast as possible. Let's keep you comfortable so you don't pass out on stage.
Yeah, or off stage.
Or off stage. Yeah. At all, really.
At all,
Like,
if you don't want me passing out, right?
yeah.
In the show, we have a blood special effect that's really like mostly for me.
Mm-hmm.
How has that made your job so much easier?
Yeah. Actually, I really like working with blood. I think it's really cool. One of my favorite productions I ever was a dresser on was an opera called Rusalka.
Call me?
Rusalka? Rusalka. Yeah.
Can you spell that?
Ruskla.
Rusalka.
It's a Russian opera. And it's a similar story to The Little Mermaid. So it's like a forest sprite comes into the human world, but then because it's an opera, and at the end everybody dies. Like, she chops off her feet, she kills the prince, she kills herself, and so the whole third act of the opera was just blood everywhere. Like, and it was paint, it was live blood, and it was makeup. So it was just, and so every night we would take toothbrushes and ivory soap, and we would scrub the costumes. But we don't have to do that for this show, which is nice.
You scrub the costume with a toothbrush.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, we couldn't put them in the wash. We didn't have enough time to dry clean them, so it was like we got a bucket of water and we like wetted down the costumes as much as we could. Also, the blood here is mostly corn syrup, whereas the blood there was mostly detergent. It was like tied with food coloring in it, which made it a lot easier to wash out, which was kind of interesting.
This is bananas.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. Okay, so you have to wash this every day?
Every show.
Oh no, opera doesn't do 8. Opera doesn't.
Yeah. We did. Because it was also in rep. I think that show had a total of 6 performances over the whole summer.
Okay.
So it wasn't nearly as intense as here, where it's like we do the show every day for the last however long we've been here.
We did like once a week, and then we did twice a week, and then now it's like 4 days in a row. And
we were all like, oh my god, I just want to go home.
Mom.
Yeah.
You're from Wisconsin.
Yes.
But live in Arizona.
Yes.
Fun fact, Arizona has a big deaf population, and then Phoenix.
Sorry, what?
I said, fun fact, Arizona has a big deaf population in Phoenix.
Oh, that's cool.
But you're in Tucson.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that jump. Why north to south? Why cold to hot? Why forest to desert?
All great questions. Number one, they hired me. This was the biggest thing.
So, money.
Yeah, money. I started there last year after I was at APT for the first time. They hired me to work in their costume shop. It's a very small shop of it was about 4 people in the costume shop building the whole season, and then we would get over-hire stitchers that would come in and help us. But now we have lots of new management, so we're getting more people in the shop. I am a junior draper this year, which means I assist our head draper in making patterns, putting the costumes together, and making my own patterns, which is really exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah. And eventually, I mean, design is is like my ultimate goal. But and also Arizona is great because there's no winter. There's like no real snow. There's maybe a little bit of snow, but it lasts for like 2 hours and then it melts and it's wonderful. You're like, oh, look at the pretty snow. Now I don't have to deal with it.
Not snow turns sludge to mud.
Right, exactly. Right. It's really nice. And then and the desert, I don't know. It's pretty down there.
Scorching summers.
Yeah, but then I'm here for the summer. So like I kind of get the best of both worlds, where like summers here are not pleasant. I would say they can be gross, but they're better than Arizona.
Better than 105, 110 desert summers.
Exactly.
What is a dream show to costume for you?
I really like Cabaret. I love Cabaret. It's my favorite musical. I've seen several productions of it, and I did a paper project in college of it, and I just think it would be so much fun. It would be so interesting to do, and there's so many different ways. Like, there's so many, because when I did it in college, I focused on sort of, there's an artist called Otto Dix, Ottodix,
okay.
And he was a German expressionist painter, and he fought in World War I.
Okay.
And after and so a lot of his art focuses on sort of the disenchantment in Germany after World War I, and how so many people were kind of for like left to fend for themselves and not supported by the community or the government or whatever. And a lot of his paintings focus on disabled veterans and sex workers. It's very beautiful and colorful, but also really garish. And so that I really wanted to focus on, and it's like lots of different body types and men and women and gender fluid and also that the German expressionist movement as a whole was like kind of focusing on the beauty and the horror at the same time, which I love. I love horror and that sort of thing.
20.
So, thank you, 20.
Thank you, 20.
And so for the paper project, that was kind of the vibe I was going for, was this really garish, but then also like, so the chorus was like old people and young people, men and women, different bodies and different abilities and that sort of thing. And I think that would be a really cool production to do at some point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, so that was my word vomit for the day.
No, it's really cool. I like how
Thank
you
you.
went in a different way than I was thinking.
Yeah.
So my question is now, are you excited about the whole revival of Cabaret?
Yes, I
like
am.
The strange
Yes.
painting and
yes.
Jake Shears is the MC apparently.
Yes, and I've seen pictures of it, and I love like the makeup and the I think they're kind of going in that sort of expressionist way of where it's like really over the top, whereas like for Don't Tell Mama, they're like dressed in like baby doll outfits instead of being like the sexy baby. They're like actually more infantile, which I think is really interesting. I just lost my train of thought, but it was like, it's really cool. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I love that we're pushing the edge, and I love that. Like,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, And I think it's also a story that's so relevant today, and it continues to be relevant, which is a little sad. But, no, it's really interesting, and every time I see it, I just relate to a different character. I can't remember her name, but the woman who owns the boarding house. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yes, that's it. Yes, Frau Schneider.
Okay.
And like, I think she's like one of the more tragic people, because it's like she's just been pushed down the whole, like, her whole life, and like again after World War I, and everything's getting bad, and she's finally thinks she's in this place of like, I can maybe have a relationship, and I have this house, and I'm kind of making money, but who really cares? I'm surviving. And then there's the Nazis come in, and it's just like, just kidding, it's all fucked again. Yeah. So yeah.
It's funny you said this, because I was thinking like this last year I saw a production of Rent. I was like, yeah, let's go. And I watched and I cried, because I was like, oh, it's a little depressing. Like, now, and like a lot of it similar to now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And it's really dark, and I'm probably going to get some trouble for this, I'm sorry, but me and my friends were like, it almost feels like you did a modern, you know, like every time you do a revival of a show, you add like a modern twist.
Right.
Like Great Gatsby is doing the beginning of their show where Jeremy Jordan takes off a mask and is like, I'm done with the Spanish flu. And it's like,
okay.
We know what that's
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
So we're like, what if Rent, instead of AIDS, it was COVID? Dark, I know, I'm sorry. But that was the thing, I was like, that's what it felt like when I was watching it. I was like, oh, people just dying, people being like, what's happening, how do we handle it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was just
there's definitely a parallel there.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Like, not, I wouldn't say, like
the same.
but no, yeah, there's definitely a parallel there, that it's like, oh, wow, we can relate to this in a different way than we did when...
Before.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So it's interesting how things just continue to be relevant, and it's like, this is so old, but it's still here.
Yeah.
So that makes me think about Romeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this production is relevant? Or what about Romeo and Juliet in general is relevant to you?
So to be completely honest, I do not like Romeo and Juliet. It is not my favorite Shakespeare at all. And what I always found interesting about the show is, I think Tybalt or Mercutio have always been my favorite characters. I think they're the most interesting, because they're the ones that, like, the conflict is really alive, especially Tybalt, and understanding what exactly his beef is, I think, is really interesting. And then Mercutio, of being the one who is kind of the catalyst for this whole second half of the play.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if Mercutio didn't die, none of this would happen. Like, then you guys like Romeo and Juliet would probably be just sneaking around all the time, and it would be fine. But because Mercutio dies, everybody just kind of, it just gets fucked after that. And I think sort of the relationship, but I feel like the relationship between Romeo and Juliet is like the B plot.
Thank you, 10.
That we see, but is the main focus. Whereas like the actual conflict between the family.
Can you start over again? You said you feel like the relationship is the B plot?
Yeah, like if we take the whole story of like this whole world of Verona, the main issue is these families are fighting, but we're choosing to focus on the relationship between these two people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so it's like a little slice of this world. I just don't feel like that's the most interesting slice to focus on. Yeah, but I do think this idea of conflict for conflict's sake is very relevant, especially now, where people are just like, I'm just gonna fight with you because you're different. And
Right.
even though, like, because the backstory of, like, why the Capulets and Montagues hate each other is never explained.
There is no...
Like, it's just like, they just hate each other. Done.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, I was hungry, I just wanted beef.
Right,
Like,
exactly. Exactly. So, oh, I forgot. I lost track of where I was trying to go with this. But,
the comment
yeah,
sake is
yeah,
feminist. It's not
yes,
like we have
exactly,
keyboard
yes.
people who are like fighting in the comments.
right, and it's just because, like, you used this one word wrong, and so I'm gonna be in like a 2-hour argument with you about nothing, and it's like, okay. Whereas, and I think this show is kind of like, what happens when that's taken to the extreme, as opposed to, if we all just chill out,
Yeah.
it can be fun. Like, we don't have to get along, but at least we don't have to, like, be murdering each other over it.
But I think it's funny that Romeo was like, dear Capulet that I cherish as much as mine own, be satisfied. And they're still like, kill him. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, listen, I'm trying to be nice.
I'm gonna be nice.
Yeah. And yeah, and they're still just like, no, you're different, fuck you. And it's
Yeah,
like, well, I think Paris, what's interesting about this production too is Paris at the end, when you're breaking into the tomb and he sees you, and like, this character has like, has basically done nothing the entire production. Is just sort of standing around, and then he just sees you. He's like, Montague, fuck you, and you're
Right.
like, please stop. I'm here to kill myself. Like, I really don't want to do this. And then you just brain him with the hammer. But it's just like it's on fucking sight, and
It's so weird.
yeah.
Yeah. And,
But I think it's interesting to be like, no, this is like everybody just hates each other. And it's not like, it's not just Tybalt or it's not just Mercutio. It's like everybody is just at each other's throats for no reason. Like, and Paris, who has like nothing to do with anything, is just ready to throw hands. So,
and then I say, hammer time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because the last few shows, people have been really reacting strongly to the hammer moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
At this point, I feel like, man, it's just a hammer moment. But
Right.
now it's like a lot more like,
Oh, it's very visceral. I wish that moment did have blood. Like, I understand practicality wise why we don't have it there, because during tech we're just like, oh shit, we have to deal with blood.
yeah.
And we're like, how are we gonna clean all of these costumes?
But just a little like trickle.
Like, yeah, or I don't know, like if I think doing special effects for film would be really fun, because then you could just go fucking ham and just be like, see teeth flying and like brains and stuff, and that would be so fun. But
I love that you're like, hi, I'm the dresser. I want to see teeth flying. I want to see blood. Like,
yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I just need to come out of my shell.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but I think because it is like a hammer to the skull is like, it's intense. It's not a fun way to die, I would imagine, or to kill somebody. But
What if like on the last show when I hit him and hit him, I pull out Advil and be like, headache?
headache? Take Advil.
Yeah, it should be fine. Like, no.
Like, head on directly to the forehead.
Dark.
Oh my gosh, that's so stupid.
It is stupid. I agree with that thing. What you're saying, I never thought about it. I never thought about the hate being as relevant as it is today, with the whole just fighting for fighting's sake, and people are just upset, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, because I think everybody focuses on the fact that it's a love story, and it is, obviously.
Yes.
But I think the reason to take it just a step further is to understand, why is this love story so impactful, or like, why does this love story matter? There's a million love stories out there, and there have been since like before this play was even written. And I think it's that layer of the hatred is what makes the love story important, and I think that often gets overlooked. And it's just like, oh, it's sword fighting and dick jokes and a love story, and it's like, but like it's there for a reason. And I think also like the fact like the first half of the play is a comedy, and then Mercutio dies, and then it's a tragedy.
Right.
And sort of putting those two opposites together makes the ending sadder, you know, because it's like we saw what everybody looked like really happy, even though they all hated each other's guts and were ready to fight at the drop of a hat.
Kill, but they wouldn't kill. But then when people actually die, you're like,
oops, yeah.
It's funny thing because I just realized you right. The play changes into a tragedy when Mercutio dies, and I'm laughing, and then I stop laughing when I see him bleeding.
And I think that's one thing that this show does really well, and what Dan does really well is that Dan's just so funny and charismatic that he can't like he's laughing and goofing around and making jokes, and everyone's like, Mercutio, you're so funny, until you see the blood, and then it's like, oh shit, it's real. Yeah, like, oh, this is actually the consequences of my actions.
5 minutes.
And,
Thank you, 5.
That is our 5-minute call, which means I have to start getting into my costume because you know we have a show.
Right. Yeah.
And you have people to dress.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Kat. For talking about
this is
your
a
job and your
cool
thoughts.
conversation.
Deep thinker. We love to
Thank
see
you.
that. Yes. Bye. Thank you, Kaden.
Thank you.